Everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Screaming Chewy Show. And I'd like to welcome special guest, icon, legend, Tommy Chong. What's happening, Tommy?
Thank you. Thank you.
Big fan, man. I'm glad, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, well, I thank you for that abbreviated introduction, and let's get it on.
Yeah, man. So, Tommy, man, it's crazy, man. Like, even though, I grew up watching you and my dad grew up watching you as well. This is
Yeah,
a trip, man.
yeah. Cheech and Chong have brought more families together than I think Santa Claus almost.
Yeah, for real, for real. Facts.
Yeah, we really have. I went to a Diana Ross concert just last week, and in San Bernardino, no, in Monterey, not Monterey, Ventura, out that way, and Santa Barbara, and I was I was immersed with my fans because Diana Ross fans. She discovered me when I was with Bobby Taylor in a bar that I owned, family owned bar in Vancouver, Canada. Diana Ross and the Supremes were working in Vancouver at the time. Just working at the local hot club, and she came down to the after hours club and saw us, heard us, loved us, phoned Barry Gordy, had him fly to Vancouver to hear the group personally.
Wow.
And then they signed us and basically forgot about us.
Oh,
so, so so we made our way to Detroit and recorded a hit record. And yeah, I was with Motown for about a year, I guess. And then I see Motown, most recording companies at the time, they just wanted the lead singer, you know, and if they could get rid of the rest of the people, they did. And that's what happened to the Vancouvers. Bobby Taylor was the talent, and so we started the band started we started backing up different, Barry Gordy's singers, and then I got to the point where I said no. I told, in fact, I told Barry I want to become a Barry Gordy. I don't want to work for one.
way to go.
Yeah, and then it worked out. And then years later, when Cheech and I were on the charts, and Barry and Stevie Wonder became a big Cheech and Chong fan, and so Barry and Stevie came to see us one time at the comedy store, and it was a nice reunion. Barry takes credit, as he should, for the success of Cheech and Chong, and that was a nice reunion. And then when I went and saw Diana Ross, I didn't go backstage; it was too crazy. But I couldn't relax in the audience.
Really?
Yeah, I've never been in an audience.
That's
I've always
amazing.
I've always been a performer, and it's scary. Out there, there's so many people, and they're all huge, and they're sweet and everything else. But there's so many of them. They're packed all seats side by side. Oh my God! I got so claustrophobic. I had to go down to the snack area. It was in Santa Barbara, the outdoor concert, and so I enjoyed the concert from backstage. I've done it all my professional career has always been backstage, and I've seen the best and heard the best. Now, small jazz clubs or comedy clubs, no problem, but
Mhm.
it's big concert venues that it gets scary. There's so many people. Anything happens, it's like, ooh, you're part of the herd.
I feel you on that. I
Yeah.
went. like in 2008, I went to go see Metallica, and it
Oh
was a
yeah,
huge a crowd. They broke a record here for the Pima County Fairgrounds. It was like over
yeah,
20,000 people,
yeah,
and I was in the crowd, and I was high as fuck.
yeah,
Started getting like anxiety.
yeah,
Man,
yeah,
it was too much, but it was fun.
yeah. Where am I? What's all these people? What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you get high and it comes in waves, you know.
Yep. Yep. It hits you all intense. You're like, oh shit, this is real life.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, especially the ones that never tried pot, don't know anything about it. And they said, "What is it? What should I do? Be scared of it?" I said, "No, no. I just pot just relaxes the mind. But the trouble is, sometimes you need that mind to be focused on certain things,
Yes.
and and it becomes relaxed not at the right time."
I love that. I love that. You know how there's some people that, I've known a lot of people that could smoke at work or, and
Yeah.
function, but I can't. Like I'm like I feel dumb when I'm high. Like I feel like I'm gonna fuck shit up because I'm too relaxed.
Well, that's it. That's it. I mean, I can see. Well, the great thing about marijuana, it really is a gift from God in a sense that it's a cure all plant. I mean,
Yes.
it's a medicine. It's a aphrodisiac. It's everything. It just makes everything right. Even I was telling people too. Even it in, it enhances whatever. Like there's a biblical phrase about if you keep your mind on God, God will perfect that which concerns you. Now
Oh,
that is a very interesting statement because what it does, it ex- it frees the concept of evil. You see, the concept we have a concept of good and evil, and for the most part, we should always try to be good because evil, you know, it's um, it's wrong. It's evil. But the problem is, we're here on this physical plane to experience everything. And you can't experience good unless you have bad. You can't experience up unless you have down. There always has to be an opposite in order to to define the one, or in most cases, the two sides to everything. Like one time, Trump said there are nice people on both sides, and he was right. Now
mhm.
the problem is he's not one of the nice people.
Right? For real. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there is nice people, but you're not one of them, dude.
Yep.
So, so what pot opened my eyes to the point where uh, when I'd say it enhances that which concerns you, which is a biblical phrase. In other words, if you're a bank robber and you smoke a joint before you go rob the bank, chances are you'll do a good job. Now you might get sidetracked. You might end up trying to get the food thing to work, when you should be running from the cops. But still, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
When
That's
you
facts.
have a relaxed mind, that's why artists and musicians and writers and poets and just people that love life, they indulge in the weed, and for that for that effect, you know.
Mhm.
And like they used to say, and it's so true in a lot of ways, how pot was a gateway drug. And a lot of the pot advocates, they poo-poo that, but it's so true.
Mhm.
because the real junkies, and by the way, it works both ways. I've seen in Vancouver, Vancouver's like the junkie capital of the world.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, they're the junkies. If they don't get their daily shot, they will be like roaches, that come out of the out of the alleys and just sit in the streets, because they're sick. They're waiting for their fix. And that's what they did in Vancouver when they wanted to raise the price of heroin. From it used to be $5 a pop, and then back in the '60s it got raised to $20 a pop.
Damn. Huge
Pop,
difference.
and it's probably now it's probably more. I don't know. I've never been a junkie or just that being in Vancouver, you're around junkies all the time.
Mm.
Your next door neighbor, the guy you play music with, the cop, everybody.
Crazy.
There's a lot of users there, but the whole point of the pot as a gateway drug, because the pot is compared to heroin is nothing. It's just like a little, like clearing your throat before you really uh, you get down dirty.
Mhm.
And that but I've also seen the junkie Johnson for his fix smoke pot like crazy, puff it, puff it, puff it, just to get that edge, that the fear of not having your fix,
Yeah.
because that's what your body does to you. The body likes that that numbness, and so what you're really feeling is the nerve endings are coming alive, and now the nerve endings are screaming like, where's that where's that substance that you gave me that made me feel so good? Come on, I need
Back.
more, I need more. and, and that way, pot was a gateway drug. But I used to tell the people that were anti-pot, I used to say that gate works both ways. I've seen it not too often, but I've seen cases where junkies quit doing junk and they use pot instead.
Oh,
Yeah, I quit smoking with pot. That's I used to be a tobacco addict, and then I got hooked up with the bodybuilders and the bouncers at the door at the clubs I played at, and they convinced me, to start working out and quit smoking. But the only way I could quit smoking was I used pot. Every time I felt like a cigarette, I lighted a joint. But I just by nature, I just a couple of hits, boom, and I put it out or pass it or give it away, and by doing that, I quit smoking cigarettes, and I had a sneaky habit. Those sneaky habits where you wake up in the middle of the night and you start looking for ashtrays, for
yeah.
a long butt,
Hmm.
but don't do that with pot. But anyway, that's my what's been on my mind.
What do you think about, pot and cannabis nowadays? How it's getting so strong with the wax and like all this stuff. Like, I mean, pretty sure it's different from back in the day. I'm pretty sure there's some really good weed back then, but now with all this wax and concentrate,
The same. No, no, no. There's no difference. The only difference is that you got people asking questions about it,
mm,
because it's illegal. Back in the day, you never said shit.
yeah, it's true, right? Don't ask, don't tell.
You just say thank you, or you did it and then you said, "What was it? What did I do?" you know, like the one joke about a biker. There was a rumor going around about this heroin that was killing people. And
Oh,
so this biker, he took a chance, and when he didn't die, he complained he wanted his money back because he got robbed.
wanted the ultimate high to die.
I like biker jokes. There's that other one about the biker. Well, you know what rats do when they see food and they're not sure of it. A rat will take a little nibble, and then it'll go sit and wait to see what it does with the system. So if it's the least bit dangerous or poisonous or something, the rat will get sick, but it won't die. But it'll go, oh, okay, I got you. I know where you're at. So that's what these bikers. He almost OD'd, and the doctor brought him back, and the doctor says, "Well, I guess you learned your lesson." And the biker said, "I sure did." And the doctor says, "Okay, what is the lesson that you learned?" And the biker said, "Well, I learned that I can do anything and it won't kill me."
Love it, man. Love it. And so you guys started in music, right?
Yeah, I did. I did. And Cheech, I guess in some ways he did too. He was like a rock and roll singer, folk singer, but a solo. He was
Oh, okay.
more of a solo artist. Although he sang with bands, different bands. To this day, he still sits in every once in a while with the different music groups. Like Korn, for instance. I think he sat in with Korn when they covered "Earache My Eye," one of our songs. Yeah, no. Cheech was a singer when I met him.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
He was up in Vancouver, dodging the draft. It was very serendipity that we met, because when he uh, left America, he ended up outside of Calgary, where I grew up, and he met people that grew up with me, and so there was a little buzz about me. I was like a hometown guy that ended up in Motown. And so that was news for a lot of locals. Whatever happened to Tommy Chong? Oh yeah, he's playing with Motown. And then Cheech went skiing, broke his leg, and ended up in a hospital, and then hooked up with the nurse in the hospital, as he would. And that's when he got turned on to the song that I wrote, "Does Your Mama Know About Me?" And Diana Ross, who discovered it, she covered the song. So Cheech, the only album the girlfriend had was the Love Child album with the Supremes. And on that album is that "Does Your Mama Know About Me?" That song, and he'd play it over and over again because it was so different from all the other Supreme Motown songs. And then he had Cheech was always a reviewer, art reviewer, and so he had to check out who wrote this song, and Chong. And then when I met him in Vancouver, we were looking for an actress to play straight guy. We had the hippie, me and another guy, Dave, were the hippies, and Cheech was supposed to be, he was replacing the straight man. We had a straight man for a while until his wife found out what he was doing. He got fired, or his wife fired him. And so then we got Cheech. And yeah, it was very magical. When we got Cheech, everything just fell together. And then we got fired. My brother, who was running the club, I changed the strip club from a strip club into a improvisational theater.
Oh.
and that's where we were doing our comedy. We still had the girls, and the girls would still, do their bits, but as far as the the music, it was we were confined, and what we did, we changed the strip club from like 20 horny customers that would throw money at the girls to 300 300 art or theater goers that would count their change, and we lost money. The more people we had, the less money we made. And I don't know how that worked out, but because horny bikers, they drink a lot, and throw money around. So my brother, he told us, the acting thing was good, but it was time for us to move on. And so Cheech and I put a band together because I'd always been a musician and like he was a singer, but we never sang one note. We got to the gig, we started doing comedy, we kept on doing comedy, did a little more comedy. Next thing you know, the show's over, and it was a battle of the bands, and we kind of won because the audience loved us, and that was the beginning of Cheech and Chong. Yeah.
Damn, man. So many decades of entertainment, man. And wow.
What, five decades? We started in 71.
Wow. That's impressive, and to never slow down, you know what I mean?
No, no, kept going. I mean, we started out when weed was so illegal that in Vancouver they busted the Four Tops because a maid found a roach in their ashtray in their hotel room.
Ooh.
And so when the Four Tops got back to the hotel room, the DEA cops in Vancouver came through the adjoining room and arrested everybody, including the white Jewish comedian who was very funny, saying, "Hey, I'm not with these guys. Do I look like a Four Top? Look, count. Hey, there's four. They're not five. I'm not with these." But he was in the room, so they grabbed everybody. And yeah, they had to get bailed out, and warned. I don't think they were kicked out of the country, but a lot of black acts back in the day, they weren't even allowed into the country because they had a pot conviction or,
Oh,
you know, yeah, it was crazy back then. I saw I saw that one concert with Charles Mingus. He's a very respected jazz legend. Well, he came up to Vancouver to play in a club, and they wouldn't let his drummer in because his drummer had a drug conviction. And so Charlie played the whole concert without a drummer.
damn.
And it worked. He had bass and everything else. It worked. It worked really well. But Charlie wasn't happy, and no one was happy. Racism. I grew up with it. I grew up with it. And that really was the genesis of Cheech and Chong, because what we wanted to show how pot was harmless, not not dangerous, harmless. The danger is in the myth, the lies that were
Yeah,
spread about it, and the lies about the people. You
the
know,
propaganda and stuff.
yeah, yeah. The Mexicans are bringing drugs. They're bringing across the board. That shit.
Hmm.
And so we just debunked in one movie. We debunked that whole narrative to the point. Well, now we're legal. you know,
Yes, for real.
and I got to Cheech and Chong will take a lot of credit for that.
Big
Yeah,
time. Facts.
yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love that you guys did that because the propaganda, it would make marijuana look so bad. And a lot of that was for racism too, right?
Racism, total racism, racist. Well, what white people have been doing all their careers, is justifying massacres.
Mhm.
They come in, and it's all land grab, you know. So it's racism. That's what racism really is. It's just a land or jealousy, you know, of one people. And so what you do, you demonize them for their color,
Yeah.
or their weight, or their ways, their traditions, you know. And that's what it was, those Mexicans smoked that marijuana. Well, look at the word marijuana. It's a slang. I think the real mota, yeska, they have all these different names for pot, or cannabis.
Oh, yeah.
When they legalize it, it's cannabis.
Yeah.
When they demonize it, it's marijuana.
I
It's
never
a
thought of
marijuana.
I never thought of it that way. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I love how
Well,
they
that's what they do. It's the image, that Hearst put in people's minds. That guy got high on pot and killed his family with an axe. That's the kind of lies that was being spread. It's just like now. But anyway, it's we're changing it. There's still a lot of changes to be made. And by the way, I understand why they're so slow in change. You know why?
Hmm.
America signed treaties with all these countries around the world to eradicate and to demonize marijuana.
Oh,
And so if they legalize it federally here, then they're going against a treaty that they drew up and had other countries sign. And the penalties, I don't know what the penalties for the other countries, if they start growing marijuana and that, but there were penalties, you know, because they wanted illegal everywhere. India, the king of Nepal used to have a stamp on the hash that was sent around the world, you know, and it was that's how revered, that cannabis was back then. The hash, it was royalty.
wow.
And now that mentality's coming back. I'll tell you, one place that has to change its marijuana policy is China.
Oh,
You know,
yes. They're really strict on that.
yeah, and that's going to be their downfall for their way of life. Because what marijuana does, cannabis, it frees the mind, like I said, you see.
Yes.
And that's why one of the reasons we lost the Vietnam War, you because everybody over there was on drugs. It was so easy to get, and the enemy found out right away. Oh yeah, you want to beat America, get them high. Make sure
No.
they Yeah, make sure they get the heroin, get in there, get all the hookers, working for the government, get America stoned. Yeah. Pot was okay. Yeah, yeah, pot, cannabis, it was on both sides, but it was the heroin that stopped, the GIs. They come back from Southeast Asia, and they'd have habits, and they'd be shipping loads of it back. The illegal drugs, and Vietnam, and all the wars that we've done since the Second World War have been disasters.
Mhm. Yeah.
Korea, Korea, we lost that. We lost Korea. We lost China. We got Taiwan. We got a little island. But because the capitalist system only works uh, for a few. I mean, it's the capitalist system to me is the opposite of uh, of the communist system, and so they both need to exist. So you have a comparison. You have one's a capitalist, one's a communist. So they have to exist. Now, And now we live in between that, those those beliefs. And I can see why communism would work for certain uh, countries that are in the stages of growth, you know. But I've been in, like I was in Budapest, Hungary, when it was purely capitalist. And the cab drivers were the ones that were complaining. They loved the communist system because there was no competition. You know, you just go to work and you got a job and you got paid, you know. Yeah, but the capitalist system is that you got to hustle. You got to
Mhm.
hustle for your, you know. And in a lot of ways, you know, the guys that hustle the most, they get the most, the ones less. But it's all about a lesson. See, we live in a physical world for a reason because we are evolving, you see. And and as long as you keep evolving, our Earth really is like a garden, you know, all sorts of creatures that are growing on the garden. But like every garden, it needs care and attention. And the more, you know, in what we do, especially with the human race, because when you look at the history of the earth, we all started with a little microbe, and just we evolved into what we are now. And what we are is really creatures that are designed to take care of their, or neglect, take care of the world that they live in, or neglect it, because you got the opposites. And so that's why we're, and that I used to argue with, not argue, but I had a discussion with Timothy Leary, and his solution was to get on a spaceship and go find another Earth. You know, start all over again, you know,
Yep.
because this one's ruined. And I told Timothy, I said, Tim, we're already on a spaceship. This Earth is a spaceship. It's not just a ball of mud going around the sun. It's whipping through space at enormous speeds. And the whole galaxy is whipping through space at enormous speeds. And and if you look around, there's zillions and trillions of other galaxies whipping through space. And to me, the whole physical universe is a school where we're here to evolve and to learn. And sometimes the lessons that we're trying to learn takes years, decades, lifetimes to evolve, to learn.
Mhm.
And death is really, see, like when you have the electric toaster on, for instance, and you unplug it, did you kill the toaster? No. All you did was disconnect the toaster from the power. So all the elements in the toaster are very much alive, but they're not powered. You see. And so because we are energy, everything comes down to electricity. And that's why, like even a meeting between a man and a woman, a husband and wife, there's electricity, there's tension, and there's violence, and there's chaos.
Facts.
The reason is that's what makes life negative, positive and negative, interacting together. Now, sometimes it's very harmonious, and other times it's explosions. But that's, in order to have change, you have to have a physical universe. Now, the opposite of the physical universe is a spiritual universe, where in the physical universe, you have everything. You have zillions of galaxies and Earths and moons and suns and explosions and fights and wars and moments of peace and more wars, and you have all that. In the spiritual world, which is the opposite, there's absolutely nothing there
Whoa.
except love, the feeling of love, peace,
Damn.
peace. That's why they used to depict, or they still depict, heaven as angels. You're sitting on a cloud with a harp, because a harp, it should be a guitar.
Right?
It should be a guitar, but back in the day, harp was the very angelic music, and it's symbolic. It's symbolic, just like the devil. How they depict the devil with horns and tails. You know what they're saying
Mm.
is that that devil is a creature that hasn't evolved from the animal to the human.
Oh shit.
You see, that's what the tail represents. That's what the hooves represents. That's what the horns represents.
That's deep.
And all they're there, the beast of burdens, basically, compared to the humans, although we are the donkey or the elephant or the mouse, because we are spirit, and we've been all those. We've evolved, like we evolved as out of the water. We were once fish, and then all of a sudden, then we became monkeys, and then from the monkeys we came down from the trees and became gorillas, and next thing you know, we were humans. We've evolved to the humans, you
Yeah.
see. And so it's all about evolution. It's all about evolution. And so the pure is invisible, because the pure is like the scripture says, God is too pure to behold iniquities. God is too pure to behold. Yeah, of course, because iniquities, evil, it's just the workings of things that are being worked out, being eliminated, being added, you know. And one of the things we're here to learn, by the way, as humans,
Hmm.
you know why we're here, to what we're evolving toward?
Mm.
Intelligence. And with intelligence comes the sense of gratitude. Like,
Oh.
I've always had the problem controlling, there's scripture again. It says, keep your mind on God, and he will perfect that which concerns you. Very simple. Like I said about the bank robber, about the artist, the poet, the podcaster, the musician, the jailer, the executioner, all these people, all these humans, that have different occupations. And what we're all doing is we're all learning. We're all here and we're learning.
Hmm.
Like I've seen people, in the, I don't do that anymore. I've grown out of that. I've grown out of that. It's so crazy. It's so good, because that's what we're doing. And then when we reach the end of the semester, you see. Yeah, now it depends on how we're doing, whether or not we should say cut this class short, because that's everything that happens, like death, suicide, all that is just another lesson that we all will eventually face, deal with, learn, move on. And that's the way it is. That's why scriptures always emphasize that there's only God. That was, I've talked to a few people. I'm being very careful now, because I got the message. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I've got a habit of seeing something and then ruining it for everybody, because I can remember every detail.
That's
And
awesome. No, that's
I'll tell the whole thing. Oh, you got to see this show, and then Cheech, especially, is I don't want to hear no more. Shut up. I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me. Don't spoil it for me. But spoiler alert happens to especially to gurus. The old the Maharishis. The one. The Beatles used to follow all those guys, the Deepak Chopra, all these wise guys. Uh, they've been blessed, and at first their message resonates, with people that resonate. But if it's the same message, all of a sudden you're going, it sounds a little bit repetitive, you know. And then you realize, what you learn when you're 3 years old has nothing to do with what you have to learn when you're 16 years old. You're a different person. So you evolve, you see. And so this is why when you become aware like I am now, there's another biblical thing that I follow. Ask and ye shall receive. Who do you ask? You ask God. Who is God? God is spirit. And so if God is spirit, then part of you is God, because you're spirit. And we're all spirit. And so if God's spirit and your spirit, you don't really have to ask. But what you're doing is you're inventorying your own desires, and your own needs. You see, I was lucky when I was a really, really young guy. I was taken from my mother. She was in the hospital. She had TB, tuberculosis. So we never saw her for 5 years, at least 5 years. And in the meantime, I was first in the hospital. I had pleurisy, and then I was put in an orphanage, into the Salvation Army home. So I never had parents. I had overseers from my earliest memories. I had nurses at first, and then the nurses became what do you call it? Keepers, like Joe, in the home. They were matrons, and they weren't the quiet, sexy nurse like I grew up in the hospital. They were like uniforms and mean when they had to be, but sort of like detached. And so when I was in the home, I just naturally gravitated to the big friendly guy that was also in the home. And so I stood like a duckling, I stood next to the big duck, you know, and I never really got to see my parents until I was five, I guess 5, 6. No, 5, 6. I was in the home at that age. I guess 7, 6, 7 years old. I think it was my 7th birthday that we celebrated in the summer, and then that winter we spent our first Christmas in our little wood stove heated outdoor plumbing cabin, and our first Christmas. It's going to be a movie. I'm going to do a biopic of it.
I love it
because it was so beautiful. My dad literally had to go into the hills, into the mountain to find a suitable Christmas tree, and it was a little scrawny little thing that I remember. Wasn't that big because he had to cut it and carry it and put it in the car and all that stuff, and and homemade Christmas decorations.
Oh, that's awesome.
Homemade Christmas for the room, those banners. And I see, I've been in the hospital. I don't remember being anywhere really for Christmas. Kind of in the home, kind of, yeah. I don't. The only Christmas I remember is the one at home with my mother, and we were too poor for presents, and so we hung stockings real stockings, not no Christmas stockings, but they're real by the cook stove. And my mother filled them with fruit and candies and nuts and no toys. We never had a toy. And I remember my grandfather came, made us bunk beds, and beside the bunk bed, we each, my brother had one, I had the other, we had orange crates, wooden orange crates, turned on its side, and with a little thing in the center for a shelf, with no doors, of course, but that's where we kept our little night stuff, our little belongings or whatever we had. It, the, the, the poverty and the love of that moment in my life, those moments in my life, are so vivid compared to where I am now, especially, and what my kids, the Christmases my kids. But one thing I made sure that we had in my house, no matter where the wealth was a lot of laughter and a lot of love. You know, we went through some problems with money, with wealth. Because the problem, the biggest problem with wealth is you don't have time to pay attention to the ones, your really close loved ones. You get taken away, your business, your fame, or your job or whatever somehow takes you away. So sometimes you look at people, that say are disabled, or got some kind of, where they're immobilized, they can't move.
Mhm.
Instead of feeling sorry for them, I've been in the position going, they're lucky. They're sitting back and they're enjoying, in a lot of ways. Well, they should be anyway. Because sometimes, that the fame and get in front of all those people, and then at the end of that rush, that's why entertaining is a lot like making love. There's a lot of preparation and anticipation, and everything, but the act itself seems to be over so fast.
I love that. I love that.
and then and then you're sitting with memories, and then thinking of the next one, the next time. Yeah. Well, you see these cruise tubes that we do, they really work.
Oh, tell me about those.
They're Cheech and Chong cruise tubes, and what they are, they're legal hemp uh, gummies, but they have, because every hemp plant legally has 3.5 THC. You see, it's not separated. This is CBD, so you get a lot of CBD, and you get 3%, at least 3, maybe more percent THC, and the combination makes you feel good. Now, I went to dinner with this friend of mine. He's an agent, I guess, manager. Anyway, he was, he needs to be sharp. If anything, his drug would be cocaine. You know?
Nice.
So but he started doing the gummies, and he likes the gummies. I didn't bring him I got quite a bit, and I didn't bring him a thing, um, a jar of it, because I don't know. He just had the attitude that he wasn't that appreciative.
Oh, okay.
And then I found out, wow. And then no, then he said, Tom, you got any more of those gummies? Come on, look in your pocket. There must be one hidden there somewhere.
You got him hooked.
Totally. Totally. No, they're good. Well, you heard me, man. I haven't shut up since you said hello.
Where can we get those?
You have to do the research. You have to check out your own dispensaries, and you think, there's a Cheech and Chong website, of course, and I think I Paris took me off Twitter back when Trump was, and was still running when he was against Hillary. And I was getting in these stupid arguments with these Trumpies, and so and a lot of our audience they're Trumpies.
Oh,
And
damn.
yeah, so Paris, it's not good for the brand, not good for you. And yeah, he's right. He was right. I'm very happy not being on Twitter because I'd get on dumbest arguments with everybody. And that's another thing that I had to learn. You see, everybody's evolving at their own space, at their own rate. You see, and so a Trumpy today will be an anti-Trumpy tomorrow when he wakes up. You know, and they do wake up. You do wake up. You do evolve. I mean, you look back, Hitler had a hell of a following,
Mhm.
even to right up to when he committed suicide, he still had people dying for him,
Yeah.
in their brain, he was a savior.
Mhm.
But time told that no, but there's still people that, and that's a positive and negative I was telling you about. So you're always going to have your negatives. Yeah, yeah, it has to. For
Mhm.
every Elon Musk, there's a few trillion Donald Trumps. you
Yep.
know, that's just that's just the way it is. You know, and for a reason too, because that's how we that's how we evolve. you know, especially with governments. I've been really checking it out because a pandemic. Yeah, it's so funny too because the Republicans stopped abortion, right? Now, abortion was doing more than just helping the mother.
Mhm.
Abortion was keeping the population down. One of the biggest problems that we have with homelessness is overpopulation. It's not that we never had homeless problems before. We always had homeless problems, but we never had that many people.
Oh, you're
You
right.
see, that's all. And so back in the day, and I don't care any day, you go back in any society, you're going to have people that have everything and people that have nothing.
Mhm.
It's just the way it is. The natives on the Northwest natives and the Haiti natives, they have they live right on the coast, and the coast of British Columbia. My son lives there now. Is so rich with everything, with fish, the seafood, and the forest is filled with game. There's food. There's so much food
Mhm.
there. But these natives, and they express themselves with totem poles, which are sculptures, wood sculptures, and they're basically friendly. They had slaves, back when you could have slaves, you know, and they probably came from Samoa, Hawaii, with the big boats, and but anyway, they ended up on the West Coast. Well, they have a tradition there called potlatch. What a potlatch is when the chief acquires so much wealth that he's got nowhere to put it. So they have a party and he gives it to the people. He gives the excess wealth to the people. In other words, it's welfare from
Oh.
the richest guy. And there's no cost involved. This is a party. Everybody goes home with a salmon, everybody goes home with food, everybody goes home with, well, where you need a paddle, a boat, whatever you need. Whoever needs it gets it. You see, because they know that within a year or so, the chief will have everything, and the natives will be looking for something, because that's just the nature of the tribe, you
Mhm.
know, of every tribe. You got winners and losers. You got the positive and negatives everywhere. And that's why the Bible always told us, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that really is a double-edged sword, because it also explains evil. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if you're a masochist, for instance, and you like getting your ass whipped with a leather belt, there's chances are you would tear somebody else's ass up pretty bad, hoping you get yours.
Very
So
true.
yeah, so you see, and what we are, we're in this ocean of reality, and that's why I understand, people that are vegetarians, because they don't like to hurt animals. I understand that feeling, because they're right. Animals are human,
Mhm.
you know, in that sense. They have feelings, they have humor, they have all that stuff, but they have a different job than humans. No one's better than the other. We're all equal on this planet. It's so cool.
They all have roles. Everybody has a role.
Everybody has a role. Yeah. And that's why when I shot a movie called Zootopia, and one of the lessons in Zootopia is that you have big people, you have big rhinos, and you have big elephants, and you have little mice, and you have little squirrels, and you have little rats, and you have little, and then dogs get together and they howl, or wolves get together and they howl, and, and there's such a vibrant mass of life. And so after I did Zootopia, I would look, I'd see people in a way different, non-judgmental way, you know. Because one of the things when I was with Cheech, wasn't too long ago, doing a lot of autographs, and both Cheech and I were kind of fitness buffs, because we were on screen and we had to work out, want to look good on, look good on in the movie screen. But the trouble is with sometimes when you're looking good, you kind of somehow want everybody to think the way you do, you know. This is guy, exercise is great, good, losing weight, being able to say no to desserts and all that stuff, But that's you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone else's in Zootopia, you could be talking to a rhino or a wolf, not a mouse.
Yeah. Love it, man. Wow. I love the way you think and about that balance, like if you don't have rainy days, you won't appreciate the sunny days.
That's the way it is. And prayer works, by the way.
Yes. Yes.
Prayer really works. So funny. We got invited. I was at a wedding in New York, and while we were there, the Boston was playing their seventh game. That they came back from what, three under, and they forced a seventh game, and the guy that owned the Celtics, or one of the owners, was at the wedding, and so he invited a bunch of us to get on a private plane and fly to Boston for the seventh game. How cool is that?
Yeah.
And so I was at the seventh game in Boston. Now I knew that Boston wasn't going to win, and so my money was on Miami. And here we are in Boston with all those fans. But I and then they wanted me to, the owner. There's always a catch, There's no free lunch anywhere. So the guy goes, would it be okay for you to perform, do some stand up one of the dates, that you're there? They had me down for Wednesday, I think. I said, sure. But when people ask me, or, give me something, then say, okay, I want you to perform. They don't get the Cheech and Chong. No one gets that, unless you're paying huge money, and then we have to work on it.
Hmm.
When you get me up there to talk, I just go with whatever whatever comes to me that at that moment.
I love it. Just improvise, huh?
Totally, totally. And it makes a lot of people nervous, I guess, that know me or that don't know comedy. If you know comedy, then it's exciting because that's what you want to do. You know? That's why a lot of people heckle comics to get them off their show and to see if they can really handle, surprises. You know, New Jersey, where Andrew Dice Clay started. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, New Jersey is like a gauntlet, running a gauntlet there. Because if the audience found out that you were a new comic, they would sit there stone faced, not laugh at anything.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Oh, I'd be so nervous.
they did that on Shelby because they put every comic. If you were back east and you get on the comedy stage, you have shit together one way or the other, you know. And so Shelby, she learned her trade in Guam and California, Canada, all the real easy places. So, so we're playing New Jersey, and I knew it was going to be tough because by that time she was doing 20 minutes by herself, before she'd bring me on. And she got a little reputation of being good, funny. Other comics were coming to see her. And so she gets up in New Jersey and they pulled that "don't laugh at anything" on her. And she did her whole show. And so I'm thinking, because she introduces me or the MC introduces me, then I come up and I passed her coming up there. I said to her, "Pretty tough crowd, huh?" And she looked at me and she said, "Fuck them."
That's gangster right there. I love that.
Then she went out. Then she went out and did a second show, and they loved her. They loved because they were there to destroy, and with her, she's indestructible.
Wow, that's
She's the real deal. You don't do stand up, because the only thing I could do with her, in fact, when we were on that road, one of the girls heard about that Shelby, that I taught Shelby to do stand up, and she said, "How did teach me? Can you teach me how to do stand up?" I said, "Yeah, just go out there and try it."
your shot.
Yeah, give it a shot, see what happens. Well, that's basically what Shelby did. But you know what it is? It's ego. See, I never really developed an ego because of my situation, being in the home, being in the hospital, not being mothered. And then after all that, joining Army cadets. And so now I'm in Canadian Army cadets, learning how to march, learning how to shoot learning how to kill people, basically,
Mm-hmm.
but learning discipline, learning how to march, learning how to synchronize. So my life has been very, very serendipity. It's been planned. I know it. And I threw the I Ching, the I Ching, the Book of Changes. I threw the Book of Changes yesterday, and I got number one, the first hexagram on the whole book, and I forget how many, 64 or something like that. For some reason, I threw the first one, and I've had my daughter read it to me because it's kind of in there. But it has a lot to do with ego.
Damn.
Because that's one thing comedians have.
Yeah.
We have egos. Because who else? No one can love you like you love yourself.
and that goes a long way, but I love how you're so humble, man. I love that. You're a genuine guy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the lesson I learned. And the other lesson I learned, well, when they, like I said, when they asked me to do a show, and then I'll ad lib, but it's not in a way I know where I'm going. I know what I have to do, and I have that knowledge because a lot of people, a lot of comedians, when they're first starting out, they call it taking chances. Oh, you took a chance. Oh, well, eventually, that's all you want to do.
Yeah.
That becomes your style. You see, that becomes your style. You don't need to rely on reliable bits, that's going to make everybody laugh. Now you're at the point where I want to get beyond that. I want to make him laugh even harder and harder. That's where Rodney Dangerfield was at. Red Fox, you
Oh,
know,
he was
uh,
crazy.
Kevin Hart. Now, uh, what's the guy that got slapped?
Oh yeah, Chris.
Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Chris Rock. Chris Rock. I met Chris Rock. You talk about humble. When he met me, oh man, I looked at the the love, the love and respect in his eyes was just. Oh, he asked me why I do this. Oh my God! When you get people like that looking at you, wow, it's like, oh my God, what did I? Thank you, Lord. What did I ever do to deserve even one little moment like this?
Yeah, man. Love it.
I've been so blessed. But being blessed, yeah, it all comes with everything's learning. You're learning something. Yeah, it's something. Like for a while there, I was upset. I didn't mean to be upset. I didn't want to be upset. But when Cheech got his art gallery, you know about the art gallery,
Mhm.
and and I thought I was going to be involved somehow. You know, it's Cheech and Chong. And then I found out I wasn't. And not only wasn't, but I wasn't. He doesn't even have a like one picture of Cheech and Chong up on
Damn.
the thing. No, no acknowledgement.
Mhm.
And and at first, I said, "Oh, what's going on?" And and it wasn't. I had a ton of ideas what I would do. I totally understand why Cheech wouldn't want to partner up with me because I do take over. you know, there's no doubt about it. We started writing the movie, and next thing you know, I wrote the title and wrote most of the movie itself. I know I do, and we got a Cheech and I got a movie coming up now
Oh,
where we play we're going to be in it where we play characters that what would happen, what happened to the characters in the movies, not Cheech and Chong themselves, but those Pedro and Man characters that we start.
oh,
And so there's a couple of writers, they wrote a whole movie about it. And Cheech just recently signed on. So it's a goal now. I'm going to meet with the I'm going to meet with the directors in that coming up. And, but and so it was interesting looking at that, thinking, okay, there must be a reason. Okay, let's find out what the reason is.
mhm.
So withholding judgment, which was very hard, you know, because he went, when I was there, I went and seen the thing, looking around. I'm looking for, okay, there must be a Cheech and Chong picture somewhere.
Somewhere around here.
Nothing, no mention, nothing.
Damn.
And then Cheech told me, he told me a little story. He said he was at his, his art gallery, and then he noticed people wanted to do selfies with him. And so he noticed he did one, then he did another one. Then he looked and he saw people were lining up. And so he escaped out the back door.
Oh shit. Damn.
In the meantime, we get a podcast going, Bullmates. And we got it going now. And it's a Cheech and Chong podcast.
Oh,
So we got a company that's trying to bring us public, you get on the stock market and everything else. And once they do reschedule, pot, we'll get on the podcast. I mean, we'll get on the whole thing. It'll all come together. And when that happens, then when we can start buying pot with credit cards, like every other business. Right now it's cash, and the dispensaries are bringing bundles of cash to the IRS to pay their taxes,
yeah.
and it causes a lot of problems with everybody because
Mm-hmm.
that's cash.
And more.
Cash seems to disappear,
Yep.
you know, and so there's forces working to legalize it.
Oh, I love
I
it.
mean, to take it off the list. What do they call it? Reschedule from Schedule 1. Right now, they've got it Schedule 1, which has no medical use whatsoever. And I'm making millions of dollars selling medicine.
For real, right? For
Medicine, CBD medicine. It's only a medicine. It can't be, it's so crazy how, but like I say, I understand, because they had the illegal pot business was good for everybody. Uh, Good for the prison industry. You got the good kind of prisoners in there. Potheads are farmers, and they're not killers. They're not rapists. They're not murderers. They're farmers, or they're truck drivers or delivery people. They're not dangerous in any way.
Mhm.
Now cartels, the guys that deal with the money, they're dangerous. They got guns and shit. But but as far as so what they did in a way, and I guess it's ordained. Yeah, of course it is. Because what the world did is use marijuana as what it is. It's a
Mhm.
teaching substance. Yeah, it would open the brain to everything. And for the most part, it's all good. And even Trump, one time when I was doing stand up, I said, God has a sense of humor. Come on. How else do you explain Trump? Because think about this. Now, Trump, Trump, and Trump did it himself. See, Trump did not want to win the presidency. He as much told Howard Stern that. Because when he was on Howard Stern, Howard said, Trump, Don, you can't be serious about running for president. And Trump said, why? He said, well, you're past what you've done. It's all going to come out. It's all going to be for everybody. Everything you've done is once, especially if you win. Oh
Mhm.
fuck it, then it's a disaster. You know, you got no privacy. And why? And like Howard said, why would you want to do that? You're rich, you're famous, you got your own plane, you got your own golf clubs, you got everything happening. Why would you want to run for president? Well, then, I, and a good question. The publicity, it gives him a microphone, you see, and
Oh,
it gives him a stage. And because he's going to be the president, everybody shuts up, listens to this guy, you know, and that's all he's ever wanted in his life. And so what he did, he told his wife, he told everybody, I'm not going to win. There's no way I'm going to win. And I'm going to make sure I'm not going to win because just before they vote, I'm going to come up with this Hollywood access tape, you know. And first of all, I'm going to knock the shit out of John McCain. So I'm going to get all those people hating me. Then I'm going to come up with this access tape and tell how I fuck over people, you know, just because I'm famous. And once that gets out there, there's no way I can win. But he did not realize he was being pursued by the FBI. James Comey, all of they're trained. They recognize gangsters right away. And when Comey and they did any kind of investigation, they find out he is colluding with Putin, with Russia. This guy is a danger,
hmm?
but he's a gangster. And the thing is, if Hillary gets in, this guy is going to be a nightmare because all there's freedom of speech. He can, like he did with Obama. He was Obama's worst nightmare forever, to the point that Obama at the dinner had to get back at Trump, you know, because Trump was such a thorn in his side. So Trump just visualized him running for president, but never winning. Okay. Now, the FBI says, looks like Hillary might win, you know, and if Hillary wins, this guy is going to get away with everything. Now, this is my interpretation is that Comey says, okay, let's make sure Hillary doesn't win.
Oh.
The last minute, he says, you know, she's under investigation. She wasn't under investigation. They had already investigated. They already found her. She's as clean as a whistle. Yeah, she had her things on the server, but compared to what Trump's done. But you see what I'm saying? And so Trump had a loser cake made for the night of the election.
What?
And when it came out that he actually won, they were unprepared. They were unprepared. They were going to bed. They thought for sure that he had lost, and you know, because there's no way he could win. Well, he won. Because even though he lost the popular vote, he won the racist vote. He won the thing, and so now he's president. No, as soon as that happened, well, Melania, she cried her eyes out that night because she knew her life was over. You know,
Mhm.
because she knew, because he promised her, listen, baby, there's no way I'm going to win. Look, I swear to God, I'm not going to win. So he wins. Now he's the president. And once he became president, he's crazy. So he says to himself, there must be, you know, I must be ordained. There must be something special going on. Why else would I be elected? You know, I am going to be the great president. Now,
Like,
I don't know shit. You know, I'm really ignorant, but I'll just tell everybody I know everything, and they have to believe me because I'm president. You know, and so he became this tin pot dictator,
yeah.
and now it's so crazy because what happens when you tell a lie? You're actually creating an entity. You're creating a scenario that becomes physical. It becomes real because it's a lie. But if the people buy into it, the lie, then they think, oh, it's really happening. Therefore, my imagination, you know, which I think is going to happen, like Giuliani and all those guys. You know, see, Giuliani at one time was anti-criminal, you know, but he'd been around him so long that he became a criminal.
Oh,
You see, there's a law in Canada that says if you work in a psychiatric hospital, you cannot work any longer than 1 year. Then you have to be transferred out, because what happens? They found out that you acquire the mental problems that the patients have.
oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, yeah, and,
That's
and, and that's what happened. See, that's what happened with Trump, because think about what happened, what he said about Hillary. He said, uh, you got to know about classified documents, you know, and if anybody messes with the secrets of the United States, they should be lock her up. That's why they were saying lock her up.
mhm.
He did exact crime that he described Hillary doing,
Oh, damn.
because he is a criminal. He can't help himself. He is the devil. there's there's no, and see, the devil doesn't exist. The devil is just another false tale, you know, that has a lot of people believing, you
Mhm.
know, because that's the nature of our positive negative.
Yep,
Like, but anyway,
man. But I love your wisdom and I love the way you describe things. Love your stories. And man, anything new? So you guys got a movie coming out? Anything
we're
else?
working we're working on a I guess it's kind of like a biopic.
Okay.
Again, you know, a lot of this is out of my control. So I'm kind of hanging on and trying to figure out what's going on. Uh, my daughter and her guy, Dave, they're filmmakers. They've been working on a documentary, a Cheech and Chong documentary, for 5 years now.
Wow.
And it's in the can, it's ready to go. It's just being babied and tuned up and nice. Once that's released, and then we're going to do biopics where we're going to go back into our lives, because I see what we have to do with immigration. We have to do the same thing with immigration that we did with marijuana. See, Cheech started with Born in East LA. You know, he started that movement, but he didn't follow up. You know, and so I want to make that a priority. You know, well, look at our problems. See, we can solve all our problems because we've been given AI,
Hmm.
we've been given the phone, we've been given the iPad, we've been given the computer, we've been given all the tools we need to create a civilization that will flourish. You know, that will solve our day to day problems. You know, our everyday problems. You know, because what I've been learning in just my life alone, you know, if you go through it, what I went through, you see, again, Scripture says, "Call no man your father except God." Now that makes so much sense when you realize that as men, we're sperm donors.
Right, for real.
That's all we are. We're sperm donors. Okay. And if our sperm is needed, it will definitely be used. And the way it is, you know, because we're here, like I said, we're here to learn. And, and like with what I'm doing, I think my job was to shine a light on racism, because right from the start of my life, I've experienced racism, and I've experienced the the joy that I get from the knowledge that I receive from having to deal with it. See, this is a problem that was given to me that I can't sweep under the carpet. I can't just pretend I'm somebody else and
Mhm.
just ignore it. Now, people have done that. People will be doing that forever, you know. But I was given talent that it just made me, just almost like said, okay, no, this is where you got to be. You got to be over here. We need you here. I'm part of a team. We all are. We all are. And I've always maintained that art would save our world. Think about it. The most gorgeous places to worship God were made by artists. See, the artist is God's messengers. That's why they're blessed with this talent. That's why I'm blessed with the talent that I have.
Mhm.
It's to further humanity. It's to get a grip on it and say, okay, that's good. Racism, okay, yeah, there is racism. Now, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? Because I realized, I grew up in a white supremacy country where a few miles away, the guy, this Polish guy, I think it was, wrote a scathing uh, book about how the Holocaust was made up, was a lie.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And these white nationalists, they took his writings. The guy was from Olds, Alberta, I believe. White, white, white guy, wearing white nationalist. And so he said that the Holocaust, he was the Holocaust denier. This was
Wow.
all up. It was all made up. And he was the first Alex Jones.
Wow.
He was the first. And I think Alex Jones got into his writing. So I grew up miles, just a few miles from that mentality.
Wow.
And I met guys. I met one guy, he said that watching black people and running water fascinated him to no end.
Oh my God. Like those fire hoses. Like, oh my God.
He told me that.
Wow.
And that's the people I grew up with. In our documentary, we talk about experiencing like firsthand when you're a kid, racism, when you like, we moved from our little reservation type house into a wartime house where all the other wartime vets all got their houses and they all looked the same and they're all in a neighborhood. And one time before we moved in there, they had a communal lawn. And the minute we moved in there, fences went up all over the place. Because we were raised in the country. We were like little native boys, black hair, half Chinese, brown as can be because we never wore clothes because my mother had to do the wash by hand, and
Oh,
so you wore shorts, in the summer. You don't need clothes. Why you get anything? You're going to Sunday school, you have to wear clothes, and you better not get them dirty. you know,
yep.
you know. So that was the kind of poverty, low end, and so we were the black people in the neighborhood, So I knew that feeling, and because my dad was a vet, and it was Canada, they couldn't pull the discrimination thing, although they had a anti-Chinese law in Canada right up to 1964 or 5, something like that, whereas that the Chinese could not run for office, and they could not run or own a business.
What?
That's why back in the day, you remember you see companies called Acme Fruit
Yeah,
or some generic name, Yeah, that was all owned by Chinese. The
that's crazy.
Chinese started the food business in America.
Wow,
That's why the chow, when they call it chow wagon, or let's have some chow. It's Chinese for food.
that's
That's
crazy.
that's what it said. That's all the cooks on the cattle drives and that, they always had some Chinese cook. And all the rich people always had a Chinese cook.
Yeah.
And what see the Chinese being the oldest one of the oldest civilizations on earth, they know the first thing you have to do is find an income stream, you see. And so that's why the Chinese would have a corner store, for instance. All in Canada, all the stores were owned by Chinese, a corner store. And that's where you go buy candy for 2 cents or a penny candy, milk, flour, eggs, all the necessities. Before 7-Eleven, they were the corner store. Well, the Chinese always, they told, they would tell, like my grandfather, when he came over, the first thing he did was open a gambling joint.
Oh, nice. Smart.
Yeah. So I think it was in my genes. I think that was in my genes because my grandmother, who I never met my Chinese grandmother or grandfather. They died before I got a chance to meet them. Oh, anyway, my grandmother was head of the Chinese uh, theater in Edmonton, and I got pictures of my dad with little. He's in the play, little samurai warrior. Yeah. So I came from a very cultured background, but very racist. Vancouver, Canada was very racist, right up to, like I said, to the 60s, before a Chinese could run for office or own a business outright. And my dad, at one time, he had a Chinese passport. He was born in Canada, but he had a Chinese passport for Canada. It
Damn.
was crazy. Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, they were afraid. Well, the Chinese had all the wherewithal to go through. They knew how to deal with explosives, and so they could blast tunnels. And so the Chinese put the railroad through the Rocky Mountains in Canada, and that's why my grandfather ended up coming to Canada. And I'm quite sure that I didn't know for sure, but I'm quite sure my dad and his brother and his sister were like a love child for his Canadian family. Pretty sure my grandfather had another family, Chinese family,
Oh,
and I've
geez.
probably got a shitload of relatives in China somewhere. But the Chinese, if you know your Chinese name, they can trace you. They can go back thousands of years.
That's a trip. What the fuck?
Isn't that something? Yeah,
Damn.
when I was born, and I was the only one of my family, I was given a Chinese name. Chong Buk Hong is my Chinese name.
That's trippy.
And you tell that to people that know Chinese, they'll write it down and say, "Oh yeah," and I'm from the Shanghai Czech that tribe, you know. Then there's Mao, and then there's all these other factions, But yeah, the Chinese, their system of names and writing that is unbelievable. We're going to do a movies. I'm getting hooked up with the right movie people, and I want to do a lot of movies of the immigration. See, I can see movies about immigration going on for because right now, the attention span is so short now. Remember when a movie, if it was like 3 hours, oh my God, that's too long. you know, Or
Yep.
they would you go to a movie theater and they'd have little movie shorts and cartoons and
Oh yes.
thrillers. And then the main movie would come on. It'd be 90 minutes and you know, gone. Those days are gone now. Film was gone. Now it's all digital.
Yeah.
So we're in a whole new age. So what I want to do is I want to show because I've been doing research and I found a book in New Brunswick, Canada, where this archaeologist was on a plane over New Brunswick, and he looked down and he saw outlines of a settlement
Oh,
where where you can see where the structures were, different things, and then he got down on the ground and looked at it really close. And found out it was a smelting settlement. It's a settlement where they smelted gold ore, and then he did some work, and it was built. It was a Chinese settlement, built by Chinese, and so he did some research, and he found out that the native tribe in that area, were the only tribe in North America to have a written language.
what?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So what happened is that the Chinese miners, the ones that went there that found the gold, then they made it into gold things. They used locals as their laborers, but they didn't enslave them. Instead of enslaving them, they brought them into the community, give them work, and then taught them the language, taught them the written language. So there's a native tribe in America that connected with the Chinese, and the Chinese had to come back to that area over the years, until the gold was all gone, you know. But what the Chinese did, they weren't violent, they never enslaved, they never, they didn't use like Columbus did,
Hmm.
uh,
Yep.
where they used violence and terror to enslave the indigenous. What the Chinese did, of course they're Chinese too. They were indigenous, and so that's what they would do.
That's how it should be. I love that.
Well, that's no, that's what it is in certain areas. And what I want to do with the future is really enjoy the future. Start these 20-year, 30-year series, you know, because like I want to document the people that hike from Guatemala to Mexico. You
Yeah.
I want to hire those people and hire them as a movie company. What I want to do, what I will do is when I get my movie company, I want to go around the world and recruit people for the movie company and have them come and live in America and become Americans, and that way we can get the most artistic. Because with a movie company, you can use artists, laborers, drivers, cooks, teachers, every aspect of life, electricians, cameramen, actors, uh, actors. Uh, there's something for everybody in a movie company, and more than anything, security. You got a income coming in, so there's no need for crime. There's no need to. There will be crime, of course, but for the one that the hikers, yeah, I can't imagine any drug smuggler, any self-respecting criminal to make a 3,000-mile hike carrying
Right.
babies and old people. You know, now I can't imagine criminals doing that because that's why they're criminals. They don't do that hard shit.
Easy way. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So what I see documenting everything because everything's being documented now, and a lot of it's being edited, and a lot of it's being collected, and I love that because when when I start my movie company, then that's another thing. I'm going to, right now, the system. That's why they're on strike now, because all of a sudden the system, you don't need to pay writers, you don't need to pay anybody, because you got the product, and all you have to do is stream it. You don't have to pay anybody.
True.
Yeah, especially residuals, unless it was in the contract. Certain sitcoms, you kept getting the residuals. Well, that all that is changing, and so, but it's just shifting around. What's changing is what you call yourself. Like for instance, they don't make buggy whips anymore. You remember at one time there was an industry that made whips for for horse-drawn carriages. Okay, that was a big industry, because you had horse-drawn carriages around the world. You couldn't go to any civilized place in the world where there wasn't a horse and carriage. And then they invented cars.
Yep.
And what happened to the horse and the horsewhip people? Well, they started making other shit, you know, and and
Oh,
and, and so that's what I want to. It's not so much make America great. I look at it more like have fun while you're here.
love it. Love it.
That's my motto. Have fun while you're here. And if you're not having fun, well, then learn the lesson that's being taught, you know. Yeah, because how people talk about mountain climbing a mountain, he climbed that mountain. Yeah.
Mhm.
Or even they even show people they died in the stretch of Mount Everest. There's a death stretch there, and people go there and try. Why is it so important that people will donate their lives and everything to climb a fucking mountain?
You're right.
Because what's at the top of the mountain? You. You made it.
Wow.
And who really gives a shit?
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
And maybe some relatives. Maybe. Maybe. Chances are most people would be jealous. What's that asshole doing?
Right. For real.
Oh, the only reason he made it was that Sherpa. Because that also used to crack me up too. Because when the first white man made it, Hillary, you know, but who took the picture? Because
Hey,
whoever took the picture was there first.
you're right. You're right.
And you know who it was? The little Sherpa. And the little kids running up and down there, they've been up and down the top many times, but there's no deal. You see what I'm saying? See, back in the day, everything was, but how amazing that a white guy
You're right. I've never looked at it that way. You're 100%.
did. Yeah.
Man.
Okay, I gotta go, man.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. And
I love it.
I love what you're doing, by the way. Planning on, all these projects and hiring these people. Like, you are changing lives, man. And your
Yeah,
your movements. I love it, bro. I absolutely love it.
yeah. I mean, our cruise tubes, they're changing a lot of things. The only thing I want to do is I want to get them to get a container that looks like a lowrider
Oh, that'd be sick.
and fill them up with gummy bears. Wouldn't
Love
that be cool?
Yes, I love it.
Gummy bear, yeah. Only trouble is, well, that's okay. We could test these on kids, because I'm quite sure it's hemp and not going to hurt anybody.
Yep.
I once did a bit. I used to do a bit. I knew a pot's good for you because my cat likes to get high,
Nice.
and cats are fussy creatures, man.
You're
You
right.
know, If you're not feeding them the right food, they'll turn their tail up and they'll give you that. What are you doing? What are you? You don't know me by now. You know I don't eat this shit.
Very true,
And
man.
so cats like to get high. So I realized, oh man, it must be good for her.
You know what I'm saying?
I gotta go, man. I'll be here forever.
All right. Thank you again, man. You have a good one.
Okay, next time. Okay, for sure.